Professor, Physician, Epidemiologist. I am Dr. Sri Banerjee. Hello, I'm Dr. Sri Banerjee, core faculty for the College of Health Sciences and Public Policy at Walden University. And in this video, I'm going to go over a little bit about the types of studies that are appropriate in various types of study types. When you conduct studies and when you start writing your findings up, one general format that every researcher is very familiar with is the Imrad perspective, and that pertains to introduction, methods, results, and discussion. So this is something that you'll see commonly in each of these checklists. But what you want to be looking for is what additional information, what specific details under these categories are being required within aligning with the type of study. As I was going through the author requirements for one journal, I saw that there were so many checklist names that were familiar, but then others that I hadn't used much. So I decided that it was important for me to explain the differences between the types. I'm not going to go down this list, and I also want to make the general comment that while there are quite a number of checklists that I'm going to go through today, about 5 of them, there's actually discipline-specific checklists as well that you should be familiar with, depending on what field you are. So this is from the Journal of Sexual Medicine, but it could be in any sort of journal. So the checklist that we're going to be going over today is Consort, STROBE, CORIC, START, PRISMA, MOOSE, and SQUIRE. So it's probably 6 or 7. So first of all, thinking about the most common type of studies that people conduct. I've conducted 50 to 60 of these, is the epidemiological studies, strengthening the reporting of observational studies in epidemiology, STROBE. This is one that is good to think of. What I like, one of the highlights about this is that it breaks it down by study type in epidemiology. So familiarizing yourself with the cohort versus the case control versus the cross-sectional study, and how the participants are different for each type of study, and then looking at the statistical methodology and how you have to control for confounding as well. So these are all good to keep in mind. Not all of this is reported always, but just so that for your information, have you gone through each one of these steps? That's what's crucial. So when we're thinking about randomized controlled trials, then the consort statement is the most important one to be thinking about, and this goes through the checklist and goes through things like participants, interventions, outcomes, sample size, looking at the power of the study. So that's consort. We've already been through STROBE, that was the first one I went through. If you're interested in qualitative research, typically people kind of do this without any sort of systematic checklist, but if you're looking to kind of make a little bit more sense out of this, and if the journal requires it, then this might be actually a good process to use to conduct thematic analysis. Looking into then PRISMA is one that I have lectured on, so I'm going to go there first and then go back to START. But PRISMA is a checklist that goes through and looks at the title. If it's a systematic review, many people confuse systematic review for a meta-analysis, but they're actually two very different things. But some people will conduct a systematic review and a meta-analysis. So take a look at this. PICO is another sort of acronym that is important to be familiar with. And then also just how this is organized. So this is one that I would spend a little bit more time on. The diagnostic accuracy studies. This is one that is oftentimes neglected, understanding the importance of sensitivity, specificity, area under the curve. A lot of times these indices are reported in conjunction with, like, C statistic is one that is reported in conjunction with the main findings. So this is something that may be useful to you depending on what type of study you're conducting. And then last but not least, we have, well, actually, Squire, which is quality improvement reports, and just a quick glance at what this entails. And this is more intervention driven. So there are 3 or 4 things surrounding interventions. And then, of course, I want to make sure you know that PRISMA is not the only meta-analysis checklist. MOOSE is an alternative for PRISMA, so you can use MOOSE instead. So that concludes all the different types of checklists in a quick sort of snippet here. I hope this makes sense. Thank you for listening.